Okay. What is happening, Boot Junkies? Mike Delgadio here, back with another video on home studio setup for voiceover. Oh yeah, we're going to talk more about cans today. And the question is, do you need to wear headphones in the booth? Let's explore. I got an email shortly after the last video I put out where we talked about the two types of headphones you need, the ones that go in the booth and the ones that go in the control room. And I got some feedback right away from a fellow booth junkie who has their own opinion. I didn't ask permission to show his name, her name, their name. I don't have permission, so I'm just going to tell you what the email says. The email says, on the subject of headphones, we disagree. Totally fine. Do yourself a favor and step away from the cans. In the booth, trust only your ears. Unless someone's directing you, there's no need. Radio folk wear headphones because they need to hear the mix. But in voiceover, he says, that's what your monitors are for. Just my opinion, and we all know we have a saying for that. Yes, we do, fellow booth junkie. So now I'll just shut the heck up. No, that's a wonderful opinion. Let's clear the air right away. You don't need to wear headphones in the booth. You may want to wear headphones in the booth. I really prefer to wear headphones in the booth, and I think there's probably 4 reasons why. And we'll go through them. Number 1. The number 1 reason why I wear headphones in the booth is to preserve my voice. Now that may sound weird. Trust your voice, he says. I wear them to preserve my voice. Why is that? Well, in a booth like this, I'll put it this way. Whenever I have somebody who's never been in a booth like this before, the very second they step into this booth, they go, wow, it's really quiet in here. And it is. It's really, really quiet in here. It's almost disorienting for people that haven't been in this experience before. They come in and they're not used to not hearing the room. Our bodies are really in tune to hearing those reflections, that ambient noise. And when you walk into a booth like this that is really heavily treated and really acoustically dead, there is no sense of room in this room. And so that means that my voice actually sounds, when I'm just talking like this, it sounds much quieter than it normally would out in a regular room. Your voice, even at the same, for me, my voice at the same volume as I would be when I'm standing out in a regular room and in here, it sounds much quieter. And that's because there's no voice reflecting back at me off the walls. Here, I'll show you. I have right over there another large diaphragm condenser mic. Same family. This is the Lewitt LCT 440 Pure. That's its little sibling, the 240 Pure. And it's set in they're both cardioid patterns. And so this 240 microphone is facing the reflection. It's listening to what's bouncing off the walls. It doesn't hear my voice here because I'm in the dead spot of the cardioid pattern. I'm a little bit more, I'm way in the back of it. So that one's just listening to the reflection of the walls. So let's take a listen to what the walls are actually sending back to my ears. So I'll just talk for a few minutes, and you can hear that it's really quiet. You can barely hear anything. So in the booth, it sounds naturally, for me, in my booth, much, much quieter than it would out in the real world. And so what happens? You've seen this probably a million times before. You know somebody who's wearing earplugs, headphones, or they're listening to music and they can't hear their voice. What do? They talk louder because they can't hear themselves. And so they'll talk louder and louder and louder to the point that they're yelling. I find that just my natural speaking voice, I still, psychologically, I tend to make my voice louder when I'm not wearing headphones because it's quieter. I can't trust my ears necessarily in this booth because it is so quiet. So that's number 1, to preserve my voice. If I'm going to be in here talking for a couple of hours, which I do fairly frequently. Much of the type of work that I do is long form. I do lots of corporate work. I do lots of long form. So I might be in the booth for hours at a time. So I need to try and preserve my voice. So that's number 2. I can manipulate how loud I talk by how loud I am in my own headphones. So I have another video where I talk about this little headphone amplifier that I keep in the booth, and there's a little amplifier right down here, right next to me, and I can adjust how loud this thing is in my ears. I can turn it up, and if I make it louder in my headphones, psychologically, I can talk quieter, and it's still the same volume in my headphones. So I can actually, you hear it, I lowered my voice because I made it louder in my own headphones. So I can actually adjust my performance based on how loud I am. Now, you may absolutely be able to trust your ears. I find that I can manipulate my own performance just by adjusting how loud it is in my own headphones. So that's number 2. I can actually adjust my performance. And that extends to when I need to work the mic in some way. So if I'm doing a performance that requires me to, play to the mic in certain ways, I might need to be working right up on the microphone, trying to work that proximity effect. Some of the roles that I do kind of really require a quiet voice. I might be talking really no louder than this. And so if I just trust my ears, I can barely hear myself talking. I don't necessarily know what this sounds like because it sounds drastically different in the headphones. When I'm working something like the proximity effect, I want to be able to hear those headphones. The same thing, sometimes I was working on a role last weekend and it required a lot of screaming, a lot of real yelling. So I want to make sure that I can hear what that sounds like in the headphones also. I want to make sure that I have to set up the preamp and I have to come and do it and listen to it and scream into the microphone and then make my adjustments and so forth. So I keep the headphones on. There you go. So that's reason number 2. So I can manipulate my own performance. And that way I do trust my ears a little bit more when I'm hearing what my performance actually is. So just like the radio guy where they need to hear the mix or they might hear where they're talking or they might need to hear the radio spots, I still want to hear myself the way I think it's going onto tape. So that's number 2. The third reason is because I'm not just delivering a bumper or a stinger most of the time, I'm doing multiple paragraphs, many pages of work. I'm doing a lot of editing on the fly. I might stop, I might pick up, I might go back and listen to something. I might be doing a punch and roll type editing. Punch and roll editing is where if you make a mistake, you rewind the tape and you work again, and you just pick up where you left off, you edit on the fly. That's impossible without headphones. Sure, if you're doing something long form and you just do the dog clicker type editing, if you don't know what my dog clicker editing is, if you've never seen that before, I'll link to a video in the description to show you what I mean about dog clicker editing. You could probably do that without headphones on, but if you're doing many pages of text, chances are you're going to need to put the headphones on to go back and listen to it again. So I find it easier just to keep my headphones on so I can do my dog clicker editing. So, and for some projects, I do things like punch and roll editing, where if I make a mistake, I stop, I go back, I lead myself in, and then pick up right where I left off. So if I'm doing something where I really need to make sure that cadence stays absolutely the same as I'm picking up an error, I will need to wear headphones. So, of course, I want to wear headphones. It helps me get back into the exact cadence, the exact rhythm where I was before. And then finally, if I'm trying to trust my ears can't tell if I popped the mic. I can't hear that I've popped the mic. I can't hear if my mouth is clicky. I can't hear if you're hearing me swallow, right? I know I hear it when I play myself back all the time. So if I am getting clicky, if I am popping the mic, I want to be able to hear that so I know I can go pick up right when I left off. I'd hate to find out that I popped the mic and didn't discover it until I was all the way back into in my second hour of editing. I want to hear that I popped that mic so I can just go back and click and pick that sentence up or punch and roll that sentence right back in. So I would always keep that in because I am listening to the mix. I'm listening to how it's pretty much pretty much how it's going on to tape. At the same time, I'm listening to myself. So I can work the mic and hear how it sounds to see if I'm getting the effect that I think I'm getting by working the microphone. I can hear if I'm getting clicky and I need to take some water. I can hear if I'm loud enough, and I can manipulate my performance by making myself louder in my headphones. I can naturally lower my voice down and still hear that I sound the same. And finally, I can preserve my voice because I do naturally talk less loudly when I'm wearing my headphones because I can hear myself much more clearly. So those are my 4 reasons why I wear headphones in the booth. And I'll go back to the beginning. If you're comfortable and you can trust your ears without using the cans, you don't need them. You don't need them. I have found that I can work faster by wearing them. I can work more productively by wearing them. And so I do. And many of the voice actors I know that are working without a director, right? We're just working out of our home studios. I know a lot of them do too. And maybe it's for many of the same reasons. I've never really taken a poll, but I can imagine that a lot of people would say some of the similar things. I want to do punch and roll. I want to know if I'm clicking or popping the mic. I want to know because my ears and the microphone hear things differently. Does that help? Does that help? You don't have to, but you might. You don't have to wear headphones, but you might. It's up to you. Now, one thing you absolutely do need to record something amazing is a microphone. So go get yourself a microphone, any old mic, and maybe a pair of cans. But get out there and record something amazing. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.